Why are young women so lacking in compassion for men? Some of this comes from personal experience, and some from things I've witnessed recently from the outside looking in. To list a few examples, I recently was dating a girl that expressed some of her trauma very early on in our relationship. I've never been one to mind when people open up to me, and am not one to abandon someone for experiencing pain. Sometimes people just need someone to listen. She had come to the US from Venezuela, fleeing Maduro's crackdown. She was a victim of assault and had witnessed atrocities that I could tell weighed heavily on her. I listened to her stories, and if anything, I felt like we grew much closer. I never judged her for opening up to me. Several months into our relationship, things were getting more serious. We spent most of our time together and had a great time. At one point, we were discussing a topic that reminded me of some things that had happened in my past. I chose to open up to her. I had already been to therapy and was healed from these events. I was simply opening up because I loved and trusted her. I was then dumped, shamed, and told that I needed to go back to therapy, which hurt my self-esteem because in my eyes, I had come such a long way. I never expected someone that was supposed to love me to treat me that way. I've witnessed this same thing happen to several of my friends. I hear women chastise men for not showing emotion in a healthy way, but oftentimes when we do, it's met with cold and very avoidant behavior. My best friend and his wife have 3 kids together. He is a great father and a wonderful human being. Him and I have had more deep, emotional conversations than either of us have had with any of our SOs. The same would apply to all of the men in our friend group. The way women have treated us has brought us all closer and closer together, which has been a blessing, but also disheartening. She belittles him for expressing his feelings. She calls him names. She constantly sends him TikToks about mental health issues and living with a male narcissist, despite her being the one with clearly narcissistic traits. She even uses her daughters against him every time they have a disagreement. I have never once witnessed her be supportive of him, no matter what he is going through. She will say things like, "I can go find a high-value man and I'll take the girls with me." She has even called the cops on him and told them he hit her when she didn't have a mark on her. She has zero remorse for anything she says or does to him and gaslights him into thinking he's in the wrong often, to the point where all of us have had to intervene and keep him from questioning his own character. It's abusive, and she gets away with it because she's a tiny girl and he's a giant 6 feet 6 inches man. I constantly see tweets and TikToks of women condoning and encouraging this type of behavior, which is then cheered on by tens of thousands to millions of women in the comments. I'm sure plenty are bots, but the fact that this has become so mainstream is disturbing to say the least. I was fortunate to grow up with 2 loving parents. My dad has experienced a lot of hardship in his life. His parents bullied him ruthlessly as a kid and destroyed his self-esteem. Without my mom's patience and kindness, I don't know that my dad would have ever ended up happy. He got laid off at one point when I was a kid. Instead of leaving or insulting him, my mom made sure to tell him every day that things would be fine, even when there was no food in the fridge and we were in danger of losing our home. She was his rock, and because of her, he powered through. He is now on the verge of retirement with a great job, and he credits all of that to my mom never giving up on him. To tie this all together, when I look at the way my mother treated my dad versus the way I see young women these days treat men, including myself, I have reason to believe that there is a serious lack of compassion from the female half of our society. Men are expected to be perfect from start to finish. Any display of emotion, even a healthy one, is now seen as weakness and worthy of shame. Anything less than 6 figures is unacceptable
and you will never be a man of any value. We are expected to keep our mouths shut, work, bring in the income to support women's unrealistic lifestyle expectations, and ask for absolutely nothing in return. Any sign of hardship, and we will be abandoned, humiliated, and forgotten. This is further supported by the fact that women are initiating a heavy majority of breakups and divorces, especially here in the US.
So my question is, where has women's compassion for men gone? Why is it that we are expected to do everything for them and get nothing in return? Why is that this type of behavior is encouraged and cheered on all over social media and between women in real life? If men acted this way or talked this way about women, we would be immediately crucified for it. But for some reason, they get a pass. I hope people find this topic interesting, as I do myself. Please be respectful to one another in the comments. I don't want any hatred toward anyone. I simply want to have a discussion and a place where people can vent their feelings, experiences, and frustrations. Be civil.